Hey guys, it's Rabbit here, back with another Starcraft Broodwar Remastered cast, and today we have a game between Dewalt and Light on a map called Polaris Rhapsody. I honestly have never ever heard of this. The two players are having a chat. Yes, Dewalt is Russia's #1 Protoss. He's saying he's #2. This game is probably a few years old. For those of you who don't know who Dewalt is, he's a Russian Starcraft player, runner-up in the BSL at least twice from memory. He is currently living in Korea, trying to get into the ASL. I think unfortunately this year he just fell short. But this guy is an extraordinarily good player, and he's playing against Light, who we all know as a terrifyingly strong Korean Terran. So and Light is I think a former ASL winner, so certainly on paper and on form Dewalt really shouldn't stand a chance. But here we go. It looks like this game may have been played on the ladder or as part of a tournament. Unlikely these two players would have run into each other in a tournament because of the tournament scenes being quite divided between foreign and Korean. So if I had to speculate, I would say it was a ladder game, because I could also red versus blue it without too much of a problem. So PvT, Dewalt incredibly good at this match, incredibly good at using Reavers, incredibly good at using Storm Drops. Light, just an incredibly calm, macrocentric, terrifyingly patient and dominating Terran player. And so it'll be interesting to see how these two players approach this game. I've come to learn that the Koreans, if they run into somebody of what they consider to be a lower skill level or a lower MR, they don't really try and dedicate too much time to the game, so they'll tend to do rush builds, cheese, or something of that interest. But we'll have to see. So Dewalt saying we saw some nice games versus Jadong. You die. Okay, well that's pretty true, I guess. Playing against Jadong, he's pretty damn good. No BM? What does BM mean? Really cool games. Yeah, they were really cool games for sure. Hopefully we can find them. But our friend Light not seeming to agree. Battle cruisers are good. They absolutely are. So we have only the one SCV on gas, so I have absolutely no doubt that this is just gearing up for a factory expansion. Here comes that factory, and on Dewalt's side we have a core, we have a range starting now, we have a zealot on the way. So this has become pretty standard. I have seen this map. Okay, so there's this bridge that comes across here. Oh yes. Okay, so this is one that I've seen quite a bit. I just don't think I recognize the name, but this is certainly a tournament map that the players play on quite a lot. Okay, so the Goon comes out. This is, I think, going to be a 24 or potentially a 28 Nexus from Dewalt. We'll have to see. He's got the Goon. He's building another Goon, so he's going for a 1 Zealot 2 Goon expand at the very least. Light's understanding the pressure that this is going to put on. Has to delay his expansion slightly. So this is just a stalling tactic a little bit from the Protoss to keep the Terran honest. By the way, this is obviously a two-player map. You can tell by the cross spawns, and you can tell by the fact that no scouting units were sent, because they knew exactly where the other one is. So naturally Terran has to send an SCV because they don't have a Zealot or something that they can send early game. But Dewalt choosing that option, which to be honest is quite fair. Okay, so we got the two Goons. This is going to block any vulture harassment. We're going to throw down our Nexus. I like that they put these little boxes here to tell you exactly where to put them. That doesn't stop players, including myself, putting them in the wrong place, but that's because I'm a dumbass. Okay, so we have an SCV just chilling here. He's obviously going to wait to try and get the scout, see what's happening. The Zealot moves back, so no units lost. No expansion yet, though, from Light. He has built the command center here, though, so I think just as a safety, he'll float it in, and then he'll proceed with his build from there. Okay, so trying to block the SCV scout. One more shot on this SCV and he'll be gone, and there he is. Hi. Okay, so he's kind enough. So these players both very chatty. I think the correct process now in this build is to go robo. So it's basically you expand, you get range, you get robo, and then you add yourself a second gateway. So then you go 2 gate obs. Get up to about 7 dragoons, obviously based on your factory count and what your observer finds. Over here in the main of the Terran, if you count that he's only on 1 or 2 factories, then you take a third, and then from there you start macroing up. If you see your Terran takes a third, then you take a fourth, and so on and so on. So usually a game of taking 1 million bases from the Protoss versus the Terran knocking those bases down, not spreading themselves too thin, and then basically wiping the Protoss down because they cannot continuously reinforce whilst trading very inefficiently against what is probably going to be a mechanical army, which will be fundamentally a lot stronger on a per unit premise. Okay, so all incredibly standard stuff from both sides of the table here. The academy is up because I think we're going to want to get some scanners and see what's going on. The first upgrade that's coming out of the machine shop, I think, was siege mode. So Light just playing a pretty safe game here. I think once the observer is in play, I'm looking for the observatory. It's on the way here. So once his observer's in his base, he's going to see that it was an academy scanner type build. He's going to be able to take his third with a high level of comfort. He's already got his probe in position to take his third. But generally what you do as a Protoss is you get your observer into the main of the Terran as soon as physically possible. These goons are positioned here precautionarily in case there are any drops. He hasn't scouted if he's gone 1 factory, 1 starport yet. So until such time as he knows, he's just covering all his risks. He is sending a probe out to do something. I don't quite know what. I presume he's just scanned. Do you know Fast Arbiter? Oh, that's so funny, Light sending that, because he's actually done a guide on how to do Fast Arbiter. So the answer would be yes, he does. But I don't think Dewalt's going to engage in any more chatter, if I dare speculate. He's written carrier. Okay, so that's pretty nice. I said, is it okay if I build carriers? Let's see what Light says in response. So the banter of these players is actually quite entertaining. So we have a 2-fac. Are we going to do a little marine tank push here? There are no vultures yet. So it does mean that you need to be able to hold this as Protoss only with goons. And that is painful. It does require a bit of decent micro. So he really is afraid of drops. He's got spotter pylons. He's got spotter goons. He's got almost everything you would need to counter drops. So it does seem to be what he's expecting. But it's certainly at this stage we know not what's happening. In fact, we don't even have an armory yet. So not a very upgrade-centric build from Light. But I expect that the armory will come out relatively soon. So the third does go down a little bit later than what you would usually do it. I think in the modern meta, some Protosses get their third down at even around the 6.5 minute mark. So it's a little bit more aggressive. You have to have faith that you know that your Terran is not like factory manning you. But there we go. He's done it. He wanted to have the peace of mind. He wanted to have the observer in the base. Now he's going to check the tech. He might get down here because there's no turrets in sight. I don't even think he has an eBay. So he couldn't build a turret even if he wanted to. So he skipped on eBay. Here is the armory. A bigger pardon. It was there. So he is doing his first sets of upgrades. He's going to get his star port and his science vessel in place so that he can start to double upgrade. And it looks like he's taking a third as well behind this, which is, look at this, guys. Sub 8 minutes. That's how this is done. Now the observer seeing this goes, all right, well, I can take a fourth with absolutely no problem at all. So basically expanding to his third and his fourth base simultaneously. And guys, the reason they do this is it's not necessarily pre-planned. It's based on the scouting. So the difference between good players and bad players is your ability to scout and to keep your scouting units alive, which is ironic because his observer just died. But his observer gave him absolutely all the information he needed, which is the Terran going for a 2-base 5 factory push, or is the Terran going for a 3-base 7 or 8 factory macro type style game plan? Once you know that, then you know what your expansion pattern as a Protoss needs to be, because now you can probably go up to 5 bases without the Terran being able to move out onto the map and kill you. You're not going to be able to move out on the map and kill Terran. Terran's going to turtle up here with tanks and siege mode and such. And eventually you're going to have to just hope that your macro is what pulls you through as the Protoss. Okay, so we are moving around. We have another obs. The good players tend to have a fair number of observers. They've got some in key spotting positions to anticipate any move outs or anything of that nature. Siege tank, boom, boom, run away. And the Goliath is chasing that obs. Go away! So away he goes. Okay, so 60 workers plays 56. Both players just been really focusing on their macro. Let's have a look at the gate count. So it's basically 3 gate observer with the carrier tech tree. So he's done this on 3 gates. Now, usually, if your Terran is being a little bit more aggressive, you will do your carrier tech tree on more gateways and you'll have more units. But because of Dewalt's observer play, he's managed to count the factories, number 1. And number 2, the units that are out on the field. And he's been able to gauge that he's not at risk of dying. And he can therefore tech up quite nicely. So he's moving down his Dragoons, I think, just to try and control this central part of the map. So the goal isn't necessarily to engage with Terran, but the goal is to hold this position, which makes Terran moving forward very, very difficult. So we can resume our normal view now. But I just wanted to show you that angle. So this bridge is not a nice choke. This is a good spot to flank from, and potentially a good spot to come down and cut any units off as well. So positioning his units there to cut off any vultures and to spot any move outs. So here we see it. The mass 7, I said 7, was I right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I said 7, 8, even 9 it looks like. So it's 9 FAC 3 base. This is far more terrifying. So the only thing you need to get right here as a Terran player is not die to the maxed out Protoss. So if Protoss maxes out at 12 minutes, which good Protosses will do, then you need to be able to hold them storming into your front door with enough tanks and mines and so on. So that's really your only risk at this stage of the game. He's already on 140 supply. You're supposed to be at 140 supply at 12 minutes for Terran to be safe from a maxed out Protoss. Dewalt, though, because he's gone 5 base, because he's gone Arbiter tech quite fast, and because he's only was on 3 gates, now his gateway count, as you can see, is exploded up to 10. He's not going to make the 12 minutes, but he's going to be quite close. It's going to probably be 12:20, 12:30, whatever the case might be. But that 30 seconds against a player of light skill is massive. So now Dewalt doesn't have that option. He doesn't have a timing attack option to try and kill light. His option now is to try and perhaps bring an Arbiter into recall on this 3rd base, and he can only really recall and counter attack. He's not in a position to engage directly with the Terran because the Terran siege tanks will just blow his face off. Simple as that. Okay, so we have moved some goons down here. We have spotted some vultures, and we are going to block any attempts to expand here and take a 4th. I won't be surprised if Dewalt is already in a position to take a 6th base, which is what we see here. So Dewalt very much understands the game. He knows what he needs to do. He's got his first Arbiter out. I think he'll pump Arbiters now non-stop out of 1 Stargate and continuously look to take the whole map, which puts the emphasis on light to move out. You don't want to fight a Terran in an entrenched position. You want to fight a Terran out in the open where you can flank, where you can attack from good angles, where your units are not in a choke, where your shuttles can drop zealots. If you have High Templars, where you can drop High Templars on and storm. That's how you want to fight the Terran. You do not want to fight the Terran here in an entrenched position. So his observer is perfectly positioned to see, okay, so he's moving forward for one of 2 reasons. 1, to siege up here and to take this base, or 2, to try and harass and take down this base over here. So let's see. We'll know if he sieges that he's just trying to take this position. We'll know if he's attacking that he's going to try and take this position here. So Dewalt would have spotted that. Immediately seeing that the army moved out of position briefly, says, this is my window to pressure this 3rd base. But this wall of depots is really, really painful. The zealots, though, can easily move through it. It's only the goons that are stuck behind. The Arbiter's in a good position, and suddenly this line of tanks becomes a factor. However, it was quite nicely stasis, so Dewalt should be able to break through here. I don't see, there's actually still quite a few zealots here, but the vultures are beautifully positioned by light. This is an incredibly good Terran, ladies and gentlemen. To get those vultures in front of those tanks in an absolute instant was brilliant. So Dewalt needs to back out now, otherwise he's going to lose far too many units. He does do that, so a good trade, but I think Terran held that masterfully. Alright, so we've laid mines here. We are showing intent to take this base, but we haven't yet. Light sensing that he does have a little bit of an opportunity to pick off these retreating units. Does chase them, doesn't let him off the hook for 1 second. Dewalt is building 10. He could possibly do with a couple more gateways, potentially in another base, like over here. He could be adding 3 or 4 base gateways. He's going to need gateways from multiple places to reinforce from multiple angles, especially if Light gets on top of his main, which I'm scared is going to happen here for Dewalt. He could take this out with relative ease. He is trying to expand here. So here come the vultures in absolute mass. And they tear up this base in seconds. And the Terran is getting into a position now in terms of its location on the map where Protoss is absolutely stuffed. They've got to come out of a narrow choke here. As I've said before, he doesn't have gateways anywhere else. So he cannot flank, he cannot reinforce. All of his units are going to come from here. So they have to come down this blimming ramp, around here and into this choke. It is not a good position to fight from. It is also a great angle that Light's been able to approach from. He hasn't had to come up this bridge. He's come up here, which is a little bit easier. He's entrenched these tanks. There's perhaps not as many voltages as what he would like. So he's going to have to keep scanning. The vessel's been frozen. That was actually really helpful from Dewalt because he's managed to knock away a lot of tanks here. And he's getting good penetration on this tank line. So I think Light's going to have to retreat. But behind this, he could potentially expand as well. Dewalt really needs more gateways in another base. Because I think, I'm not going to say he got lucky here, but there's only so many times that he can have Light on his doorstep and live to fight another day. Here come even more units. He's got 9 factories reinforcing versus 10 gateways. It's just not enough gate production. I think 8 plus 3 maybe means he has 11 or 12, but he needs 16 plus if he's going to go this gateway arbiter style without storm, without splash damage, without reavers, without something else to help him. And I think unfortunately Light now is just going to prove to be too strong and is going to overrun Dewalt in a matter of minutes. Still no gateways here, unfortunately. Has got a nice footprint on the map in terms of bases. I will say that Dewalt's macro has been very good. He's keeping an eye on this base, keeping these dragoons there. I don't know if he needs them, but I don't think Light cares. He's going to go and kill them now. And he wants to establish another base, because if he establishes another base, he's got the command center for it. There's nothing that Dewalt's going to be able to do. He's just going to have too much macro power. Dewalt does move some units forward, but where does he target? I mean, yes, he's not entrenched here, he hasn't sieged up, but he's got a lot of vultures, and his vulture play, I mean, his micro is just brilliant with the mines. He's able to wipe out dragoons literally in seconds like he did there. So this base is going to be established. The small advantage or benefit that this does give Dewalt is it forces Light to spread his units and not concentrate them all in one place, which means it is a little bit more possible to engage. A nice little stasis. I love the stasis noise. Okay, so we're backing up. We're getting over the bridge so that we can fight. But this is not a very big army, and this is a very big army. They're all sieging up. That's the death noise. That's a lot of mines, a lot of friendly fire among some other. Ooh, nice stasis there. Got a huge clump of tanks. Does he have another stasis in him? I don't think so. The Goliaths are wiping out both arbiters. That's really painful for Dewalt. He's really struggling for gas, and considering the number of bases he has, I find that hard to believe. Maybe he hasn't assigned or built assimilators in every one of them. Ah, there's a mistake. He only has 1 probe on gas there. That is very unfortunate. Not mining gas there. That's very unfortunate. A game of very small margin, Starcraft, but that is a very costly mistake because Dewalt really needs to build more arbiters. He does have 2 on the way, but he's struggling for gas, which is certainly a problem. He can't add high Templars or anything else to his unit composition. He's basically gateway man with a bit of flanking arbiter support, and I don't think it's going to prove enough to stop Light. So this base is established. Here they come. The units are coming across though to cut this off. Oh, and a beautiful recall as well. We saw that in the corner of our screen to try and intercept these units. That was nicely done, but there's just so much Terran still coming across. Although 190 plays 117, Dewalt's actually looking really strong here, guys. Light is a hell of a player, but he's knocking down this base. He's managed to hold this base too. Here comes some more Terran, but the stasis units are in such an inconvenient spot, so he knocks this base down. Brilliant play from Dewalt, and suddenly he moves into a really strong lead. Like I said, engaging head first, walking into the meat grinder, not the way to go. Finding an opportunity to knock down a base, finding an opportunity when your Terran opposition's army is out of position. That is how you play this matchup. That's why your scouting, your observer placement, and your game sense has to be so on point. The only thing I wish I could see from my friend Dewalt is a few more gateways in another location. That would, I think, really give him a huge edge in this match. I don't think coming up this ramp is a good call. He does stasis a few, but a whole heap of tanks are here. We'd back away. This is not a good place to approach. Too many tanks, not enough access. He does back away and move into a more central location. So let's see what happens now. This has been a really fun to and fro PvT. I really like this because it's probably the most conventional builds from both sides. So the most standard of PvTs, but played at a very high level. Arbiter plays mech with vessels, stasis, the odd recall, and just a lot of expansions. Very strong player. Nice engagement again. Beautiful stasis again. He does have a decent enough tank line. Light is holding on tight here, but Dewalt is relentless. If he can block off this base again, he stays in a strong position. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, his original bases. If they can get this base, or if Dewalt can get this base, then and hold on to it, then he's going to win this game. Light, though, playing really well with his vultures, knocking down another attempt of Dewalt to establish this, and I think these goons are going to chase them off, and he's going to get this base established, which is really good. His vulture play and his map sense is obviously of a very high standard. Not a lot of tanks here now, so these tanks are retreating a little bit behind these mines for some protection. Doesn't continue to follow them. Dewalt is floating a little bit of cash. I think he could afford to have some more production. He's moving down here, focusing on his micro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So my only critique, if I can critique somebody as good as Dewalt, which I probably don't have any rights to, is he could do with a few more gateways. Because now, if he does take a big fight, his speed at which he can reinforce would just be devastating. But I don't think it's going to matter much, because this command center is being floated. He's built a whole heap of units around here, and Light's army is totally on the other side of the map. Yes, he can go and kill this, but I don't think it'll matter. Dewalt's got a lot of other bases, including this one that she's managed to get up, and he's probably going to establish this one in the meantime, or at the very least deny it. So yes, you could put some tanks in play and you can knock this base down, and yes, you could put some tanks in play and lock this base down, but can Light hold this and take those other bases concurrently? This is where this is going to go down to. It shouldn't mathematically be possible at 182 versus 120, but this is Light, guys. This is one of the best Terran players in the world, so perhaps he could do it, but there's just nothing here. And all of his production is in this position. However, he's moving his units back down. He's stopped with his attempts to take these bases, and he's actually just bringing his units back to fight Dewalt here. But 174 plays 101. He's only got 41 workers. I think Dewalt is going to take down Light here in what would have been an absolute upset, something that you really would not expect to see. He's managed to bring his units around here. He's going to tidy up the tanks that are harassing this base. Yes, he's going to lose this, but there's 4 tanks which I think he could quite easily fight. In fact, he's fighting it with probes. The splash damage is actually going to kill these tanks. There goes another one, so he's holding on nicely there. He's calmed down. He's kept his dragoons here, and I think he's just taking a breath. 176 plays 82. He just has to keep his composure, and he will win. Here come the zealots to knock off these remaining tanks. And the remaining forces that Light has are going to go here, but there's just too much Protoss. He's got too much reinforcing power. He's sent out even more units from his main gates. Still no gateways here. And he's flanking from this side as well to take on the main. So he's got a beautiful flank of the reinforcements that would come out, and he's got a nice clump of units fighting from both sides. So Dewalt's angles here are beautiful. He GG's. He beats Light. He throws a little bit of Hobisu, that's me, I beat you, Light, yeah baby. He's obviously really pumped to beat somebody as good as Light. What a fantastic game, what a surprise. Honestly, you never expect somebody who's outmatched to be able to pull off a convincing win like that. I honestly had no idea, so I'm probably as surprised as you guys are. I'm Rabbit Drew. I troll the internet and the community for as many awesome Starcraft replays as I can, so that I can bring them to you. If you enjoy this game, please do hit a like and subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you later. Ciao for now.